Hey everybody, this is episode 46 of Twins Talk Tech. Thanks for coming along for the ride today. Over there is Bryce, I'm Brent, he's the cross-eyed one. We're just going to chat a little bit about some things today. My ideas are kind of just talk about that iPad Pro that we're lusting over right now. A lot of people are. I'll tell you something that's,
it is
maybe
nice.
You have some thoughts on this that can kick and run with it. Some things that I haven't liked about a lot of the reviews, not so much the product, just the reviews. You've complained about some of the reviews in the past. It's how they're saying it's super fast, all these nice things, but then they're ending it with, but it's still just an iPad.
I kind of agree. Because...
I'll explain.
Well, you come out, you being Apple in this specific case, you come out and you say, it's beautiful, right? And then you look at it and you're like, okay, I agree. You say that it's running USB-C, which does ruin the fact that I have about 322,000 lightning cables, but it's running USB-C.
And no adapter will charge you, affect it to charge you.
Yeah. So I do have a lightning to USB-C adapter. Matter of fact, I don't have my keys on me, but that little pigtail that came with the 8 and 8 Plus and the 10, but no longer with the 10 and 10 Plus, the lightning to headphone adapter.
Right.
I made a little keychain situation for that. And so I bought a 2-pack for like $6. So it'd be interesting to see if that would actually take a lightning cable and charge it. I don't know if it's enough juice. But anywho, lightning USB-C. With that, you get a bunch of other abilities. Sorry, I thought there was a scratch on my lens. Including charging your phone, right? Then you can also... I don't think it powered... Somebody online said it powers a 5K monitor. I don't think that part's accurate.
I think you're limited to 4K.
Is it 4K?
From what I had heard.
Okay, maybe 4K. Still, it's a lot of Ks. But you can still, you're mirroring basically to a 4K display. And that's pretty trippy, right? Then you talk about the speed. It's faster. What was the number they gave? Than 92% or something? No, I'm talking about the laptop market. It's faster than the bulk of the laptop market that's out there. And I don't know if they're going all the way back to like the dual core or the Pentiums even. But, or if it's just the I series stuff. So they don't really tell you where they're breaking that line at. But they're saying that it's faster than most of the laptops that are out there. And then you give us the same iOS. And it's really, when they say it's just an iPad, as much as I think it's fantastic and as much as I want one, it is just an iPad. You can't plug in a flash drive and use the Files app to see the contents and to share files. You can't, like some Android devices, you can plug in a mouse and then a pointer appears. You can't do that. I mean, how trippy would that be? You plug in a mouse while you're connected to a 4K monitor, and now you have basically a computer. Heck yeah. And maybe that's iOS 13. I don't know. But it is just an iPad. You've talked about editing video on the iPad and the limitations that you have with some of the software. And for me, sometimes it's not even the software. It's how to use the software. Tap, drag, tap, hold, drag, tap, and then use another finger to do so. I mean, it's just, and some of these are not very intuitive. I'm not patient enough to go and watch their 90-minute video on how to use the app and stuff. So yeah, I think that's probably why they're saying it's great in all these ways, but at the end of the day, it's still an iPad. For me, I would not be able to replace my Windows laptop. We've mentioned in the past I have some proprietary Windows-based software. I can't even use a Mac. And because
if you're connected online, you'd be able to use the online options. If it's the same, you might have school related items you're talking about, but for what I use, it is the same way. That's
No,
that
there's no
information is
web-based
online
version of this client. It's a local
now.
install.
What you're referring to?
The specific one I'm talking about. There's a couple others, but the specific one. And well, I mean, honestly, why the company that makes this didn't make or doesn't make or isn't making an iPad or iOS version, I don't know. That's up to them. They don't make a Mac version, and maybe there's limitations on the back end. But I thought about, well, maybe I could just simply remote desktop into my server. You use that a little more instead of just having a 6th gen i7 laptop sitting on a shelf as a server, and that's all it does. Plex server more specifically. Well, maybe I could remote desktop into it from the iPad using a 4K monitor, but still no mouse. So then I've got to touch the iPad to be the mouse. I don't know if my Bluetooth keyboard would connect and then be passed through to the RDP. I would assume remote desktop. I think I mentioned that last week. So yeah, there are some downsides to the iOS, and but the fact that they're comparing it to Windows-based machines. At the end of the day, it is still
Are they
an
though?
iPad. Yeah,
I think
they're saying it's a
reviewers are
desktop
mostly-
replacement.
No, they haven't. What they've said. So, from my vantage point, that I've read into these commercials, and I've never seen anywhere on their website where they're saying it's a desktop replacement.
Their
They have
keynotes, they
a
say
few commercials.
you don't need a computer anymore. This does everything.
Correct, because it does for who they're selling the iPad to. For the iPad market,
No.
it does in fact. Yes, it does. You give this to mom. Does she need a computer? She gets everything she needs on this device. She had a laptop and mom represents a whole lot of people out there, far more people than you and I represent. And she had a laptop that she purchased 2 years ago. She says she only opened it twice because she does everything else on her phone and her iPad. So for the vast majority of people,
So what
The
were the two
iPad
times that she opened it
can
on her
replace.
laptop? Why did she do that?
I don't know. Probably just because I wonder if this still works. I don't know. So for most people it can. Or the commercial where the little girl is doing all these things on her iPad, and then the neighbor or mom or whoever it is says, "What are you doing on your computer?" Then the girl says, "What's a computer?" So there's a lot of generation that's growing up, and that is how everything is done for them. Now, you mentioned some things that I can't do on it. It's getting a little bit better, like background noise. I'm always in an environment with background noise. Even at home, in my so-called controlled environment, there's background noise. That's a little bit better on Ferrite now, but it's still not great.
Yeah.
It's not as, the controls aren't as picky as sometimes I need it to be, and it takes out too much because my voice being a little more monotone and lower, that's a lot of those frequencies that it's trying to pull out, and it really, for instance, those who watched last week's video, my audio was not stellar. It sounded like I was in a vacuum inside of a box because I had to remove a lot of the background noise. It takes away a lot of the sound that is me.
Well,
Which for a lot of people that might be a good thing. But
go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but last week you also were using the video micro, right? For the first time.
And I am today. Yeah.
So that's putting it at arm's length, maybe 4 feet away. So it's going to capture more background noise than a lavalier,
Sure.
That's right here, and you can turn down the gain on it. So that doesn't help in your environment.
Especially this one here with cars going by and the white Corvette that decided he wanted to make everybody know he was around. Not too long ago. Anyway, I got off on the Corvette, made me forget what I was going to say. Anyway, so
You're talking about Ferrite and background
Where
noise and what things you can and can't
but
do on the iPad.
where we differ on the reviews that state, but it's just an iPad. That's where I come in, and that's how I view it. I already know it's an iPad. I already know its limitations. What I'm looking at it is if I can do, for instance, on the computer, When I did last week's video, I used Premiere Pro this time, but I still had to send the audio to Audacity. I'm not familiar with some of the other programs yet, so I'm familiar with Audacity. So even though I'm still on the same machine, which is more convenient, I still had to send the audio to another source to work with it to get it back into where I was mixing, for the lack of a better term, the video. Adjusting coloring and all that kind of stuff. But looking here, I'm going to have to do the same thing again. Shadows galore. Apparently this is not a good location. Plus, in a car is probably not a great location.
Yeah, the extra lights help.
Yeah. So when you go to buy an iPad, you know it's an iPad. So, yes, there are many people, or some, maybe many is the wrong word, that use an iPad as their main source. I could easily use my iPad as my main source for everything, even for this type of stuff, because of LumaFusion. Even if I just used iMovie, iMovie is really powerful. I'm not making a movie that would play on Malco Cinema right over here. I'm making videos that I'm gonna throw on YouTube, if I ever actually put them, the ones that I save on YouTube. So iMovie does fine. LumaFusion is great, and you probably could do a full feature on there. I don't know how many. You probably have to render out a lot, though, to do that. The audio with Ferrite has gotten a lot better, and maybe there's other audio things. And if I had good internet, then at that point it opens up everything that's online. There's a lot of things online where I could upload that audio, process it using other server power, using software that's server side essentially. And then again, at that point, I don't need that computer. I just and you might say, well, then it's because you're using somebody else's computer. Well, so what? When you check your Gmail, you're using somebody else's computer. So I don't approve of that logic for this. But so anyway, that's the standpoint where I come from. It's just you already know it's an iPad, and when you're getting the new iPad, it's because it looks a lot better. It runs a lot faster. I'm not in love with Face ID, but I've heard Face ID acts better on an iPad. I can see it being better on an iPad than on a handheld device, because I still have to raise it up because my arm is apparently too long for it to work at where I look at it. Because I'm blind, I have to pull things further away. So that's good where it is. You already know it's an iPad. So you can't say it's great, but it's still an iPad, because then that says iPads aren't that great. That's what that says. It's great because it's faster, but it's still an iPad. That says it's, it's, you got to take it for what it's worth. It's still an iPad. Well, of course it's an iPad. It's a review of an iPad.
I still disagree, but I see where you're coming from.
Right. It's not like the Surface. The Surface tablet is, in fact, a Windows computer.
Yeah.
That you then have to purchase additional hardware for, keyboard and a mouse, to get the rest of it. But it is, in fact, 100% Windows software. It's not the same. Many people say it's a competitor. Maybe it is in my Apple's view as well. And maybe in a lot of people's minds, because they just see something that looks like a tablet, because they're tablets. But, it's never been touted, from the way I've ever heard it, the way it's ever gotten into here and made me think of what they're talking about from Apple, that it will absolutely replace the Mac, for instance. Anyway, so that's my stint on it.
No, it's a good viewpoint. I think the most important bit of all of that, not to say that it all wasn't fantastic, was what you mentioned about our mother. Because as an older lady, I don't think she watches this, so she shouldn't be offended. She fits a good portion of the market that Apple is aiming this towards. Maybe not necessarily the newest one, although as great as it is today, it'll be slow by, in 3 or 4 years standards. It's still pretty good. I think I lost Brent, but
pausing for one moment.
The whole idea of the iPad, based off of what my perceptions
by the way,
of the
I don't know what he's saying over there.
Keynote and what they're trying to push is, but you don't need a laptop anymore.
It has happened a lot.
And I think if you're really going to make that claim, you've got to cover all the bases.
I don't know if it is the 10R.
And they haven't yet.
Excuse me, or just the time of day.
So we'll pause.
So yeah, it just failed. Hold while I FaceTime Bryce Cox. Hey Siri, FaceTime Bryce Cox. Nope. All right, so that was great.
Are you still recording?
Yeah, I was talking to myself over here. I was stating that has happened frequently ever since I got the 10R.
The loss of signal?
Loss of signal, dropping the FaceTime. I haven't dropped phone calls, but then again, I don't talk a lot on just a regular phone call. But I'll FaceTime my wife if I go shopping. Is this what you want? Yeah, I don't know if it's directly related to the 10R. Where I'm at right now, I generally have 3 to 4 bars. But anyway, yes. So I'm still rolling, and that's what I was talking about to myself, to whomever else might be
We'll
watching.
keep it in the video, as we'll keep all of this in the video, mainly because it's easier for me editing wise. But that's probably pretty vital. I did hear something about Wi-Fi issues on the new devices. No, let me rephrase. Sorry, ignore that. LTE issues on the new devices. And I don't remember if they were throttling down something. They're all apparently using the Intel. Back in the day, they were using Intel and Qualcomm, but now they're just using the Intel, I believe. That is not, from what the industry says, is not as good or as powerful as the Qualcomm. So maybe they're just needing to have a couple more updates. Are you fully updated? You're up to the latest and greatest fancy pants?
Well, it says
12.1,
to site 12. Yes, it says it's at 12.1.
Okay.
But what I read yesterday, maybe the day before, that Apple released a separate 12.1 for the 10R.
Okay.
And I don't think I have that one, because it also said if you had already updated 12 to 10.1,
12.1.
12.1, there we go, thank you, that you might not get this. Now, if I plug it into the Mac, and iTunes sees it, at that point it says there's an update. And it says 12.1, so it recognizes that there is another update specific to the phone.
Yeah.
I just have garbage internet at home, and it fails every time I try to download it. So, so maybe there might be a fix in there for something. But
I think you can
either way,
download it manually from Apple's website, maybe at work, and then throw it on a flash drive, take it home, and then manually upgrade.
no, I can't do that on my computers at work. But
Oh, it's blocked.
yeah,
Tell me the exact number that you need, and I'll download it.
12.1 would be what it is. I had
Now
to find out what
it's
the exact-
12.1 dot something, so I just need to know
I'm
which
not
dot
certain
something it is.
Well, then I'd have to download it from you. So it's the same difference. Then I'd still have to get it from you. So
Yeah, you Google Drive, iCloud Drive worked for the thing. So.
no, well, what I'm saying is it may be that iTunes is failing because it wants a certain amount of bandwidth. It may just be the fact that my bandwidth doesn't want to give me 2.8 or whatever, 2.5 gigs worth of anything. So
It's 2 point something gigs.
a regular, when you download the whole entire operating system, yeah, it's 2 point something gigs. Well,
Wow,
I think that's what it said.
that's crazy.
Last one I did a long time ago was 1 point something, but I'm pretty sure the most recent ones were 2 point something.
Wow,
Anyway, it's up there.
yeah,
It's up there.
It's good size.
But
Alrighty.
I'll get it at some point.
Yeah, well, let me know when you update it, and we'll do some tests with that. Well, you'll do some tests with that. I was talking to a lady today. She said she got the 10S. She's super excited. She sent an email to the everyone list, which means everyone got the email. Hey, has anyone found a phone in the ladies' bathroom at this location? And you got one person replied, I found a phone over here. That's not even what she was asking. She wasn't asking for general people who just found a phone somewhere. Anyway, so I saw her today, and I said, hey, did you find your phone? Yeah, someone found it, and they returned it to me. And she was kind of panicky because she had just gotten it like 2 days before the 10S. And she said she loves it. She does the typical family thing where she bounces down older versions. Apparently she had the 8 or the 8 Plus, I don't remember, and then she bounced that down to a daughter, and then that daughter bounced hers down to the other daughter. And so, but she's enjoying it thoroughly. And I mentioned to you how you had the 10S Max. I still want to call it the Plus, and I think they should have called it the Plus. And then you took it back to get your R. She didn't understand, didn't make sense to her, didn't compute. And for me, it computes and doesn't compute. I was taking some pictures the other day, and it's almost like second nature now to hit the 2x. I wish I could go directly into 2x and then back out when I don't want to use it.
Right.
Because I do use it that often. So the 10R for me, I work with a gentleman who's had the 7 or the 7 Plus. I think it was the Plus for many moons. And he has T-Mobile, I believe. And the deal ended yesterday. You can take back or trade in a phone and get a discount towards the, which one was that? The OnePlus 6T. That's a beautiful phone. What's interesting about that phone is it does pretty good. It has its own portrait thing. I tested that, but it does not have wireless charging. So it has the latest and greatest Snapdragon processor. The cameras are
I thought
actually...
they had a glass back on that. Didn't they put a glass back on that so they had it?
I don't know. I don't know if they did or not, because it actually comes with a case and a screen protector. And he had the screen protector on and in a case, so I couldn't really tell.
Oh, I'm thinking of the Pixel.
Okay, yeah, the Pixel definitely does. So anyways, it was interesting that this had all the latest and greatest fancy pants, except Qi charging, wireless charging. It does come, though, with a 5-watt brick. 5 watt, 5 amp, I can't remember, 5 amp, 10 amp. Anyways, it'll charge up to 60% in 15 minutes with that thing. And that's another big complaint that a lot of people have with Apple is, okay, your entry phone is now $749 or $799, whatever it is, your newest entry phone. But you're still given that crappy old, 1 or 1.1 amp thing that trickle charges. I guess, it's going to save your battery, but still, when everyone else has a phone that costs half as much, but they're giving these phones with these fast chargers. Your premier phone is not doing that.
Everyone else, do those half as with the well, you already said the 6T doesn't have Qi charging.
Yeah.
So when you get to comparisons, you're up to the S models of Samsung's. Is it still the S9? I haven't seen the S10 yet. The Note 9. Those are up there in price, $800 to $1,000, depending on what the.
But it's not because of the Qi charging.
I understand, but you're still, when you're getting to that tier of phone, how many of the phones that are below that, just regular people phones, how many of those have Qi charging? I don't know the answer to that, by the way. There could be that most of them do. By the way, I don't use Qi charging. My wife not my wife. My daughter's had it for a year. She doesn't care about it. I actually put a little metal thing in there so I could clamp it to I have a little magnet thing on my dashboard.
Yeah, that negates the Qi charging.
Yes, it does. Unless you put it lower, but I figured it'd make it a little topple. But I want to go back just for a second about the cameras, because you were talking about how you couldn't do the 7, or I'm sorry, the R because of the single camera.
I'd say couldn't, but I probably won't.
Right. And I understand that, because I think my wife would be in the same situation. I think she would do it. Well, I think she would just have it, but she would just have everything digital zoomed because she zooms a lot. And I'd be like, and I would tell her, don't zoom, it's digital. She'd be like, it looks fine. Yeah. And then complain if we ever go to print it out.
Right.
But I was using it yesterday. I was looking, I saw something, and it was super small. I couldn't tell if it was a little tiny worm or whatever. And so I zoomed into it and then took a picture, and then I zoomed into the picture. It would have been handy to have had that 2x zoom at that point. But I rarely do that. And like I said, I've been 2 years now into the 7 and didn't do it before. One thing I've noticed with this phone, and I don't know if there's a difference between LCD or OLED, I don't recall this issue with the 7, is that I can't seem to find a good brightness level with this LED. It's either too dim, and this is when I'm in controlled environments, not necessarily when I'm outside. If I'm in the office, if I'm in the house, it either goes, jumps over where I need it to be, jumps over into too bright, or drops down into too dim. Mm-hmm. So again, if anybody watching this, when Apple or really any company releases products, don't jump on the first batch of products. I have a habit of doing that, especially with Apple stuff, because I'm pathetic. And you almost always get bitten. There's definitely going to be a certain part of that batch that has issues. There always is. And they work those kinks out. So normally, if you get something released in September, October, wait till December when they've gotten through that first main run of things. But anyway, and it may just be that I've gotten a sour patch here with this particular phone. Overall, I'm happy with it, but there are a few little qualms between the S model and this model. Unless the camera is the main thing, I don't see the point, pardon me, of paying that difference. I will say, however, having this for a little while and sometimes picking up the 7, the size of that 7 is still better. Like, it makes me think maybe I should have, instead of going to this, I should have went to the 10. Simply for the size of the phone. So, there's that.
Yeah. They're all valid points. For me, I think where I'm at right now, it's not definitely the extra lens, the 2x zoom lens is not worth $400. It's not worth $200. It's not worth maybe it's worth $100. It might be worth $100. So that's something that when I get to that point, which I'm hoping to be 3 or 4 years from now, I really want to stretch this phone out as long as possible. I saw something online and I didn't click play because I didn't have time. And then I have since forgotten about it until now, but I think it was Denzel Washington was being interviewed, and he said something to the effect of, what's this obsession with our phones? Why does everyone have to have these amazing phones that do everything, that cost $1 bajillion? I'm clearly paraphrasing because I didn't watch it. I saw this heading, so I'm extrapolating from that. But that's kind of that's the first place my brain went when I saw the heading. Why are we so obsessed? And I have to include myself in that because I have gotten obsessed with it. I see the latest stuff. It's why I watched the keynote. What did they do? How great is it? And I've been kind of let down in a sense that, I want to see some things that are absolutely just blowing my mind. Finally, I saw that to some degree with the iPad, but not so much with the phones. And, that's partly the industry's fault. That's partly media's fault, but that's hugely my fault for allowing myself to get wrapped up in all that. With that said, I have the 8 Plus. It has the 2 lenses. Besides a minor little crack in the screen, everything else is still pretty much flawless. So let me just roll with this for as long as I can. At the end of the day, will it save us money? Probably not, because I'll probably find somewhere else to spend it. But
The iPad.
the iPad or wherever else. And maybe by the time I get this phone paid off, I'll talk myself out of the new iPad. I don't know yet. But
We're at 29, by the way, on my side.
all right. Well, that's a good place to stop. Next week we'll find something else to banter about, and we'll revisit anything if we need to revisit. I've got some things in my head. I'll text them to you and let you know and see if we want to pick a topic. Until next time, we'll see you. No, we won't. You'll see us later. Ciao.
Yeah, exactly. Take care.